The first day at Zathrik's Intergalactic Academy was never going to be easy for Mira. As the only human enrolled in the prestigious institution, she already felt out of place. The Academy's sprawling campus was a kaleidoscope of alien architecture, with gravity-defying spires and luminous walkways suspended in mid-air. Students of every conceivable species bustled about, their voices blending into a symphony of strange dialects and accents. To Mira, it was as fascinating as it was intimidating. The first exercise she had done since her depression. She clutched her datapad nervously as she entered her first class, Galactic Diplomacy 101. The room's walls shimmered with holographic projections of star maps, and her classmates floated, slithered, or hovered to their seats. She felt the weight of dozens of eyes, some of them literally, fix on her chest. But she straightened her shoulders, determined not to let them see her falter. "Look, it's the primitive," sneered a student with translucent skin and a crown of bioluminescent tendrils. Their voice dripped with disdain. "Quick! Did she get lost on her way to a zoo?" whispered another, their voice an eerie harmonic resonance that carried just far enough for Mira to hear. Several others chuckled, their alien features twisting in amusement. Mira's cheeks burned, but she kept her head high and settled into her seat. She was here to learn, not to dignify their insults with a response. If they wanted to underestimate her, so be it. She'd prove herself in time. Professor Zyron, a being composed entirely of shimmering gas encased in a containment field, floated to the front of the class. "Settle down, everyone," their voice reverberated, a melodic hum that commanded attention. "Let's begin." As the lecture progressed, Mira scribbled notes furiously. She'd worked hard to earn her place at Zathrik's, even harder than she had to earn respect among Earth's own ranks. These aliens might not see her potential, but she intended to prove them wrong. The galaxy's history unfolded before her, each detail a testament to the delicate balance of diplomacy and power. By the end of the day, Mira's spirits had sunk further. Every interaction seemed to end with snickers or dismissive glances. As she walked back to her dormitory, a group of students blocked her path. They were a motley crew of species, each more imposing than the last. "You don't belong here, human," said one, a hulking reptilian with scales that glittered like obsidian. His voice was a low growl filled with menace. "Yeah, why don't you go back to your mud ball?" added another, their compound eyes glinting maliciously as they chittered. Mira's hand tightened around the strap of her bag. She felt the familiar twinge of frustration, but kept her voice steady. "I belong here as much as anyone else." Reflexively, her head tilted up. They laughed, a harsh, discordant sound that echoed down the corridor. Mira forced herself to walk past them, each step a reminder of the isolation she faced. Her dorm room felt like a sanctuary, the one place where she could let her guard down. She sank onto her bed, staring up at the ceiling, the day's events replaying in her mind. But she had a secret, one that would change everything. Late that night, Mira sat at her desk, the soft glow of her datapad illuminating her face. She tapped a sequence of codes, unlocking a hidden file buried deep in its memory. A holographic image sprang to life, displaying a sleek, battle-worn starship and the insignia of Earth's vanguard forces. Her eyes lingered on the insignia. It was a reminder of who she truly was, not just Mira, the human girl struggling to fit in, but Captain Mira Solan, the youngest officer ever to lead a mission during the galactic conflict. Her exploits were classified, her identity hidden to protect her from those who sought vengeance against Earth's heroes. The Academy had been her chance to lay low, to escape the weight of her past, but the constant ridicule and scorn tested her resolve daily. Mira sighed, closing the holographic file. The past was behind her, but its shadow loomed large. A soft chime interrupted her thoughts. A message appeared on her screen. "Anonymous, we know who you are." Mira's heart skipped a beat. She stared at the message, her mind racing. Who could have sent it? How did they know? Before she could respond, another message popped up. "Anonymous, meet us at Hangar 7, midnight. Come alone, and we will crawl in time tomorrow, together." Mira hesitated. It could be a trap, but if someone had uncovered her identity, she couldn't afford to ignore it. She grabbed a small concealed weapon from her desk drawer and slipped out into the night, her mind a whirlwind of apprehension and determination. The Academy's corridors were eerily quiet at this hour, the usual bustle replaced by a hushed stillness. Mira's footsteps echoed as she made her way to the hangar, her senses on high alert. The vast structure loomed ahead, its towering doors partially open. The hangar was dimly lit, its vast expanse filled with dormant ships of varying designs. Mira's breath caught as she stepped inside, the enormity of the space amplifying her unease. She scanned the area, her hand hovering near her weapon. The space was bigger than she remembered from the canyon. The Starfleet supplies of Kidza supported experts. "You came," a voice said, breaking the silence. Mira turned to see a figure step out of the shadows, their form humanoid but unmistakably alien. It was Zix, a quiet student from her class, with metallic skin that shimmered under the faint light. "Oh, what do you want?" Mira asked, her voice steady despite her racing pulse. Zix raised their hands in a gesture of peace. "Relax, Captain, I'm not your enemy." "Then why the secrecy?" "Because the galaxy's a dangerous place for someone like you. But there are those of us who recognize what you've done, what you're capable of, and we need your help." Zix gestured for Mira to follow, leading her deeper into the hangar. They stopped near a cluster of smaller ships where a group of students waited. Mira recognized them from her classes: an insectoid engineer, a feline-like strategist, and a crystalline medic. They regarded her with a mixture of awe and determination. "We've been tracking unusual activity near the Tardanian Nebula," Zix explained, projecting a holographic map. "Pirates. Organized ones. They've been targeting supply routes, and the Academy's leadership is ignoring the threat." "Will tell me?" Mira asked, crossing her arms. "Because you've faced worse and come out on top," the feline strategist said, their voice a soft purr. "We need someone with real combat experience." Mira's mind raced. She'd come to the Academy to escape her past, but she couldn't ignore the urgency in their voices, or the flicker of excitement at the prospect of a mission. "You're asking me to risk everything," she said finally. "If the administration finds out, we're all expelled." Zix's metallic gaze met hers. "The galaxy needs heroes, Captain. You might have been hiding, but you're still one of them." She nodded toward him, and he nodded back. Exercise to be part of the fleet. Exercise was an advice. Mira took a deep breath. She'd spent so long trying to blend in, to suppress the warrior within. But perhaps it was time to let her true self shine. "All right," she said, her voice firm, "let's do this." The group erupted into motion, their energy infectious. As plans were drawn and roles assigned, Mira felt a spark reignite within her. A spark she thought she'd lost. The discovery of who she truly was, and who she could still be, was only the beginning. The Academy's corridors were alive with the hum of advanced technology, but to Mira, it felt as if she were walking into the unknown. The message had shaken her, but curiosity, and perhaps a flicker of defiance, propelled her forward. As she entered the hangar, her footsteps echoed in the cavernous space. The dim light from overhead fixtures cast long shadows, giving the ships an eerie, slumbering presence. Mira's eyes scanned the area, her senses sharp. She was prepared for anything, or so she told herself. "You're here," a voice said, cutting through the silence. Mira turned sharply, her hand instinctively moving to the concealed weapon at her side. It was Zix, their metallic skin glinting faintly in the light. "What's this about?" Mira demanded, keeping her distance. Zix raised their hands, palms outward. "Relax. I'm not your enemy." Their voice was calm, almost disarming. "We need to talk, away from the prying eyes of the Academy." "Well, and how do you know about me?" Mira's voice was firm, but inwardly she was reeling. She'd been careful to keep her past a secret. "We've been watching you, Captain Mira Solan," Zix said, their tone steady. "The galaxy knows your name, even if most here don't recognize you, but some of us do." Plama. Mira's heart pounded. She'd come to Zathric's Intergalactic Academy to escape her past, to bury her identity as a war hero and focus on building a new life. Yet, here was someone who had unraveled her carefully constructed facade. "Who's we?" she asked, her voice edged with suspicion. Looking down at the body of the man, she saw it. "Follow me," Zix replied, ignoring her question. They turned and walked deeper into the hangar. For a moment, Mira hesitated, weighing her options. Then, with a resigned sigh, she followed. The further they went, the more Mira's unease grew. They passed rows of dormant ships, their designs ranging from sleek fighters to bulky cargo vessels. Finally, Zix stopped in front of a smaller craft. Standing around it was a group of students Mira recognized from her classes, an insectoid engineer with intricate chitinous armor, a feline-like strategist whose sharp gaze never missed a detail, and a crystalline medic whose body refracted light in mesmerizing patterns. "What's going on here?" Mira demanded, crossing her arms. "We're a team," Zax explained, "and we need your help." "Will you come to me?" Mira asked, though she already suspected the answer. "Because you've faced worse," the strategist said. "You have real combat experience, something none of us can claim. We need someone who knows how to lead, how to fight, and how to survive," the crystalline medic added, their voice resonating like the chime of glass. Mira shook her head. "If the administration finds out, we'll all be expelled. Worse, if these pirates are as dangerous as you say, going after them is suicide." "We've done our research," Zix said, stepping forward. "We're not asking you to lead us blindly, but we need someone who can make split-second decisions when it counts. Someone who can give us a fighting chance." Mira hesitated. She'd come to the academy to leave her past behind, not to get dragged back into the fray. But the determination in their faces was undeniable. They believed in her, even if she wasn't sure she deserved it. Erin Ward felt his eyes filling with tears. "All right," she said finally, "but if we're doing this, we do it my way. No unnecessary risks. Understood?" The group nodded, relief and gratitude evident in their expressions. For the next several days, the team worked in secret. Mira took charge, her military training kicking in as she assessed their strengths and weaknesses. Zix proved to be a skilled pilot, their reflexes honed to a razor's edge. The insectoid engineer, Crix, was a genius with technology, able to jury-rig solutions to any problem. The feline strategist, Naira, had an uncanny ability to anticipate enemy movements, while the crystalline medic, Talis, ensured everyone's health and morale remained high. "We're going to need a plan," Mira said during one of their strategy sessions. They were gathered in a secluded corner of the hangar, holographic maps and data streams spread out before them. "A direct assault is out of the question. We need to outthink them." "What about infiltration?" Naira suggested, her tail twitching thoughtfully. We could disguise ourselves as a supply ship. Let them come to us. Too risky, Mira replied. If they suspect a trap, we're done for. But, she paused, studying the map. If we can find their base of operations, we might be able to cut them off at the source. How do we find it? Crix asked, their mandibles clicking softly. We'll need to intercept their communications, Mira said. Crix, can you rig up a device for that? Crix's eyes gleamed. Consider it done. As the team prepared for their mission, Mira felt a sense of purpose she hadn't experienced in years. The camaraderie, the shared goal. It reminded her of her days in the vanguard. But it also brought back memories of loss, of the comrades who hadn't made it back. You okay? Zix asked one evening as they worked on their ship. Mira nodded, though her expression was distant. I'm fine, just thinking. Huron nodded, his eyes closed, his cheek pressing to her breast. Zix didn't press her, but their understanding glance spoke volumes. The mission began under the cover of darkness. Crix's device worked perfectly, intercepting a transmission that revealed the pirates' location, a hidden base on an asteroid near the nebula. The team approached cautiously, their small ship cloaked to avoid detection. We're in position, Zix reported, their hands steady on the controls. All right, Mira said. Naira, you're up. Let's see what we're dealing with. Naira's deft hands flew across the console, activating the ship's sensors. There's a lot of activity down there, she said. Looks like they've got patrols, but nothing we can't handle. Good, Mira said. Let's move in. Quietly. The team disembarked, their movements coordinated and precise. Mira's leadership was evident in every step, every whispered command. They navigated the asteroid's rocky surface, avoiding detection as they closed in on the base. Inside, the pirates were oblivious to the intruders. Mira and her team moved like shadows, disabling security systems and gathering intelligence. It wasn't long before they found what they were looking for, a shipment schedule detailing the pirates' next targets. Mira's breath fogged the visor of her stealth helmet as she crouched behind a jagged rock formation on the asteroid's surface. Around her, the team moved with practiced precision. Despite their varied backgrounds and physiology, they had come together remarkably well under her leadership. Each step brought them closer to the pirate base, nestled within a series of caverns carved into the asteroid's core. The journey to this point had been tense. The cramped interior of their ship had buzzed with a mixture of nervous energy and anticipation as they made their way through the Tardanian nebula. The nebula's swirling gases painted the ship's viewports in shades of gold and crimson, a deceptively beautiful prelude to the danger that awaited them. You sure about this, Captain? Zix asked as they descended into the asteroid's gravity field. The metallic sheen of their skin reflected the faint light from the control panel. No, Mira had admitted, her voice steady despite her uncertainty. But we don't have another choice. Now, as they moved through the shadowed expanse of the asteroid's surface, Mira's mind raced with calculations. The intercepted transmission had given them valuable intel, but it was incomplete. She didn't know the full extent of the pirates' defenses, or whether they were walking into a trap. The unknown gnawed at her, but she pushed it aside. She couldn't afford doubt. As I Grix, she whispered, her voice barely audible over the team's comms. Status on the scanner. Grix, the insectoid engineer, clicked their mandibles softly as they adjusted the portable scanners strapped to their forearm. Minimal movement in the outer corridors, they reported. I'm picking up life signs deeper in. Humanoid, but not uniform. Likely unorganized patrols. Mira nodded. Good. Stay alert. Naira, take point. Zix, you're with me. Thalas, cover our rear. Nira, the feline strategist, crept ahead, her movements silent and fluid. Her sharp eyes scanned the terrain, noting potential ambush points and escape routes. Zix and Mira followed closely, their weapons drawn but lowered, ready for action at a moment's notice. Thalus, the crystalline medic, brought up the rear, their refractive body casting faint, multicolored glimmers against the asteroid's dull rock. The entrance to the cavern loomed ahead, a jagged maw carved into the asteroid's surface. Mira signaled for the team to halt. She activated her helmet's thermal imaging, scanning the area for hidden threats. A faint heat signature flickered near the entrance. A sentry, humanoid, armed but inattentive. "Male guard," Mira murmured. "Naira, can you take him quietly?" Mira grinned, her feline features alight with anticipation. "Consider it done." In a blur of motion, Mira disappeared into the shadows. Mira watched as the sentry's heat signature jerked briefly, then slumped to the ground. A moment later, Mira's voice crackled over the comms. "Clear." The team moved forward, slipping into the cavern's entrance. The air inside was cooler, carrying the faint metallic tang of machinery and the acrid scent of unregulated fuel. The walls were lined with crude reinforcements, a patchwork of metal plating and asteroid rock. Dim lights flickered overhead, casting uneven shadows that danced across the narrow passageways. "This doesn't look like the work of amateurs," Zix commented, their voice low. Mira frowned. "No, it doesn't. Stay sharp." Deeper into the cavern, the team encountered their first real challenge. A cluster of pirates gathered in a makeshift control room. The room was cluttered with stolen equipment, its consoles flickering with hastily installed software. The pirates themselves were a ragtag group, their uniforms mismatched and their weapons a mix of old and new tech. But there were too many of them to take head-on without risking an alarm. "Diaz?" Mira asked, glancing at her team. "I could overload their power grid," Crix offered. "It would plunge the whole base into darkness, but it'll take time." "We might not have time," Naira said. "What about a distraction, something to lure them out of the room?" Rafe gasped. Mira considered both options, her mind weighing the risks. "Crix, start on the power grid. Nira, get into position to intercept any stragglers. Zix and I will cover you. Thalus, be ready for any injuries." The team sprang into action. Crix slipped away to access the base's power lines, their nimble fingers working quickly to splice wires and manipulate circuits. Naira positioned herself near the entrance, her blaster ready. Mira and Zix took up defensive positions, scanning for any signs of trouble. It didn't take long for the pirates to notice something was wrong. The lights flickered, then went out entirely, plunging the base into darkness. Shouts echoed through the control room as the pirates scrambled to restore power. In the chaos, Naira picked off 2 stragglers with precise, silent shots, their bodies crumpling to the floor. "Move," Mira ordered, leading the team deeper into the base while the pirates were distracted. They navigated the twisting corridors, relying on Crix's scanner and Nira's instincts to avoid detection. Finally, they reached their destination, a storage room filled with crates of stolen goods. Mira's eyes narrowed as she recognized the markings on the crates. "These are Vanguard supplies," she said, her voice tight with anger. "They've been hitting Earth's shipments," Zach said grimly. "No wonder the outer colonies have been struggling." "We need to get this intel back to the Academy," Mira said. "But first, let's set a trap of our own." Using the stolen equipment, Crix rigged the storage room with a series of timed charges. The team worked quickly, knowing it was only a matter of time before the pirates realized what was happening. Mira's heart raced as she double-checked their escape route. "Charges are set," Crix reported. 3-minute timer. "Let's move," Mira said, ushering the team out of the room. They retraced their steps through the base, their movements swift and silent. The sounds of the pirates' frantic efforts to restore power echoed behind them, growing louder as the team neared the exit. As they reached the cavern's entrance, the first explosion rocked the base. The ground shook beneath their feet, and a plume of smoke and debris billowed through the passageways. The team sprinted for their ship, adrenaline propelling them forward. "Go, go, go!" Mira shouted as they boarded the craft. Zix fired up the engines and the ship roared to life. They lifted off just as a second explosion erupted, sending chunks of rock and metal spiraling into space. The team sat in silence as the ship sped away from the asteroid, the pirate base reduced to rubble behind them. Mira's chest heaved as she caught her breath, her mind racing with the implications of what they'd uncovered. "We did it," Naira said, a triumphant grin on her face. "This is just the beginning," Mira replied, her voice steady. "The Academy needs to know what's happening out here. And we're going to make sure they listen." As the ship disappeared into the swirling gases of the nebula, Mira allowed herself a moment of pride. They had taken the first step toward uncovering the truth, but she knew the real battle was still to come.